And I always love seeing certain people, even though that I know that I could see you in Detroit, Mark Wallace. He's the CEO of the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
It's great to be here.
You know, it's always interesting to look around and see who's talking to who up here at the Mackinac Policy Conference. Have you had any interesting conversations so far?
It is. Well, it's an amazing spot where you just kind of grab people and catch them as opportunities arise. So I was just downstairs with Maurice Cox, the planning director of the city, and I saw my best friend Josh McManus was down here too. So it's nice to run into people. And again, you see them everywhere, but they're all in one room right here.
Which is nice, and it's interesting where the conversations go from there. Maurice Cox obviously has been probably one of the busiest guys in the city of Detroit in terms of looking at development and where the neighborhoods go from here.
That's right.
And kind of looking at the the bigger picture of what Detroit is going to look like in the next 10 to 15 years.
Well, the whole conversation about One Detroit, right? You know, we're here because people want to be in a city with each other. Great cities are places where diversity happens, where interaction happens, where there's density. So it's been great to see Maurice really bring that focus and that high level attention to those topics.
So I want to talk a little bit about the Riverfront and the fact that years ago we had never really taken advantage of the Riverfront. And it's so bizarre that Detroit, we're right there on the water, and how other big cities have really taken advantage of it. We have finally started to do that.
That's true. Well, it's amazing. If you look at just most of the big cities in the country were founded on some sort of waterway, whether it's a lake or a riverfront, and a lot of them, they built a freeway right along the water. They built a, some sort of industrial plants right there.
Cement silos,
silos. So we're in good company.
Right.
But I think we were actually a little bit early on the idea that you could transform that and return it to the public. And when you think about Detroit, 300 years ago, people were landing at that location. It's in our bones, it's in our DNA, it's in our hearts in a certain way. And the Riverfront has really just extended that use and become a really special gathering place where there's no true Detroit story at the Riverfront. It's one place, and everyone feels welcome.
The growth has been really amazing in the last couple of years, and what I love about it, it's just no longer this one strip. There's so many spokes now that you're working on that lead people there, that lead people now to other pockets. There's the connection. There's no longer just these pockets. And talk a little bit about some of the work.
Well, we're really excited about that. And if you look at it, starting at Cobo Hall and Joe Louis Arena, all the way down to GM with a fountain, and Rivard Plaza with a carousel, Mount Elliott Park with a water park, and then the Butterfly Gardens down at Gabriel Richard Park. It's really a series of public spaces. And then when we built the DeQuinder Cut and started managing that, everyone realized, oh my gosh, it's great to have these non-motorized opportunities to access the riverfront. So the planning exercise we just completed with the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation and the City of Detroit Planning Department with Maurice really allowed us to identify additional opportunities to make those connections. So if you love the DeQuinder Cut, we have 2 more opportunities that we're going to be building over the next 2 years, which will be very similar to that type of experience. Old train lines and old biking paths that'll take people from those neighborhoods straight to the waterfront.
And some of the plans now that we're seeing, the renderings of having cafes and and really starting to develop this space along the water is exciting, to say the least.
It is, and it's been a long time coming. Yeah, places are really activated by their neighbors, and so our idea that building the public space would stimulate economic development is really that second phase. But what we want to do is make sure that economic development is not some suburban spaceship that lands on the riverfront. We want to make sure that it feels like Detroit, it's special like Detroit, and it's something we can be proud of as a city of Detroit. So it really matters for us to curate what comes next. And a big idea that came out of that riverfront planning process is that authentic places are often built off of historic renovation instead of new construction. So the riverfront's pretty unique. It's not like Midtown where there are a lot of old buildings you can bring back online, but there are a couple of old buildings. So we think that starting with the old historic character of that neighborhood is really the way to stimulate and improve the quality of what comes in the new environment.
Because how many times do you get an opportunity to be able to plan like this and to have that kind of thoughtful, like, what do we want this space to be and what do we want it to look like? Because for the next 50 years or so, it's almost heady in terms of saying, gosh, where can we be?
That's right.
From there.
Well, and it's amazing. Our next planning exercise is going to focus on the West Riverfront. And we bought a 22-acre park over there, the old Free Press site. Tore down the old Free Press printing plant, and we've opened that up to the public. So it's already starting to be a thing. But that's a really exciting opportunity for us as well. We're going to turn that into a world-class park. We're very excited about that opportunity. And it's the sort of thing, I mean, it's once in a lifetime to be able to build a park for the city that you love, return it to the people, and know that for hundreds of years, people are going to be coming down there, making memories, staying healthy, interacting with nature. It's really a wonderful opportunity.
Mark, what's the one thing that you want to kind of hear coming from the conference?
It's just making sure that making sure that people understand that the Riverfront is really a demonstration project for our entire community. There are a lot of places in Detroit, in the region, and the state where it's only old people, or only young people, or only black people, or only white people. The Riverfront has really shown our community how to be a place for everyone. So I want to make sure that we remain a part of that conversation.
All right, well we can't wait to see what happens next. Thanks so much. Mark Wallace is the CEO of the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy.
Thanks.
Got your work cut out for you this summer.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to see you down there. All right.